in action. Rules that keep things going smoothly and fairly. Rules that help us get where we're going. Help us work together, play together, and live together. Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a city college quintet races by fast and fancy wet beat from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York scores 2 points worth of first blood.
And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of city college fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Bob Coble eases the Helen into the basket to take the lead.
Do you think you could walk this quietly? Listen to this work sound.
But tribal warfare comes to the gymnasium as the St. John's Indians retaliate with 2 points. From now on, the game is touch and go, with 10 men hoping to get it there. A beautiful display of teamwork, and Northwestern gets in the number column with sharp shooting Bob Coble doing the honors.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn the Game, where you learn if you got an F for effort. And today we're going to be talking about if Michael Jordan actually had a bag that could translate to today's NBA, or if he's just a product of his time. Before we get into that, Politicus Rex, how are you today, sir?
Coping. All right.
With the state of basketball, I understand. So Rex, with this, I know we've gotten some recent attention on the channel. If you're new to the channel and you're watching here, please comment. Please, we'll drop the link if you'd like to come up and chat with us. Otherwise, really, what is the deal? Is Michael Jordan a product of his time for the skills that he had, or is he an all-time great skill-wise? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is, it's funny you word it this way, because when we first, just 2 minutes ago, we're talking about what exactly we're going to talk about today. You didn't word it that way. And the way you just worded it is actually a lot more profound and a lot deeper and better conversation. So kudos to you, Dart, for coming up with that. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Human evolution does not happen over decades. It happens over many, many, many millennia. So players in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they were all just as athletic as today. And what it is how they're taught to play because of the rules of the day. If you're not allowed to use a certain move, like a Euro step, just throw that one out there. If that's called a travel by every official in every game, everywhere on the planet in 1950, then no one's learning it. It's not that they can't do it. It's not that they don't have the footwork, the dexterity, the ability to do it. It's they're not allowed to do it. Then they make it allowable, and then guys start doing it. It's not like the human body certainly realize, oh my God, I can swing my hips and change direction, and now I can score a layup on the other side of the basket. Oh my God. We've always been able to do it. The top players from every era are the top players because they are the best. And human evolution has not increased or decreased over the 130 years of basketball. It is what they're taught to do, the realm of creativity, and then what the rules allow them to do. So Michael Jordan was a supreme athlete, and he took what he had learned from the greats of the 70s and applied it to his career in the 80s and 90s. And then you have players like Kobe, who took what he saw in Jordan in the 80s and 90s and applied it to his career in the 2000s and 2010s, and so on and so on and so on. And it'll always continue. That's how it works. But the bottom line is fundamentals. Fundamentals don't change. They are the physical rules of the universe, so to speak, for any particular sport. They're what works because they've been doing it for so long, and certain things always work with the rules that are provided. Today, you sit there and you talk about ball handling. Well, ball handling is probably overall the most important skill to have in any ball sport, being able to use the ball that you're playing with, whatever ball it may be. Okay, well, there was a time in basketball when it first began that dribbling wasn't permitted. So are you going to compare that guy to a guy 50 years later that was dribbling a 4-panel leather ball on a lousy court? And then are you going to compare that person to, Oscar Robertson, Magic Johnson? And then are you going to compare them to Kyrie, where nowadays every ball is absolutely perfect? They're all multimillionaires playing on courts owned by billionaires. So every court is perfect. Their shoes are perfect. The training regiments are perfect. Are you going to compare that to back in the olden days and say, well, that player wasn't able to do those things? So that's all. When you have kids today, I hear them constantly talking about how back in the 90s that those guys couldn't play today. Of course they could. And then you have the opposite. You have people saying, well, if LeBron played in the 80s and 90s, he wouldn't be able to play. Of course he would. He would play differently because of the rules and the strategies of the day. He'd be more like a Karl Malone. He would be forced to play more of a front court position because of his size and athleticism. He'd be a Sean Kemp type of player, but he would still be the great player. And guys like Michael Jordan, if they played today, would be the same. Now, the one difference to Jordan's career playing today is I think you would actually see him playing more small forward than shooting guard. We know he could play point guard. And as a disclaimer to you out there that don't know me, I am not a Jordan fanatic. I don't think Jordan is the GOAT. I don't think LeBron is the GOAT. There is no GOAT, individual GOAT in a team sport. But they're still great players, amazing players. But I think in today's game, Jordan would actually play more small forward because people say, oh, well, if he played today, he'd just shoot more threes. He would have developed his 3-point shot and he'd be great at 3-pointers. That really wasn't his mentality of how he played. I don't think he would have. I think he would have went the other way. And with his athleticism, his hang time, his first step that was so explosive and so quick, that actually gave him the nickname, the Black Cat, because of his first step. that with today's spacing because of the three, you'd actually see Jordan living at the free throw line and 17 feet in. Because who's going to cover him in that? Who today is going to suppress Michael Jordan in the mid-range and go into the basket? Where you can't clog the lane, where you have to cover the guys out at the three-point line. So he's going around one guy, which we all know he can do, and then he's meeting the center at the rim. And how many centers today are capable of smothering his shot?
Well,
I don't think Jordan would play anything like a Steph or a Harden or any of that. He would actually be going to the basket more.
Well, the modern day NBA fan would say everyone can do it, and that he really just was able to do that because it was the times he was able to play against the illegal defense where it was illegal to play zone defense, more or less.
He played in the Olympics multiple times, and in the Olympics and international ball, you do have the zone defense, and he still dominated. So in college, he was college player of the year. In college in the early 80s, everyone played zone impacted in. So that's all just nonsense. He dominated against every kind of defense.
Yep. I would hear people are just too, and kind of to the point of the show is that people have learned all these skills over time. So and that Michael was only exceptional for his time, and now today it's a normalcy. So in that train of logic, I'm not saying I agree with it, then everyone defensively or everyone understands the offensive things that Michael Jordan would do. Those are claims that I've heard. So
yeah, that's the thing. I always hear Jordan fans even say, well, if they, first of all, he proved he could shoot them. He went 6 for 6 against Portland in the finals, so the ability is there. And that's what I try to explain to a lot of casual fans is all of these players have the ability, right? But you can be the number one player all the way from middle school, kids leagues, church leagues, summer leagues, high school, going on up, your AAU team, go to college, be the number one guy your whole life, and then get to the NBA, and now you're a bench warmer. Does that mean that guy all of a sudden forgot how to play? And then you have guys that are like Drazen Petrovic that are a bench warmer on one team and get traded to another team, and he's an all-star and now a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
It's situation and circumstance, coaching. People talk about, Wilt choking in 69 and losing in the game 7 to Boston, to an old Celtics team. All right, well, that was actually because of the coach. The coach refused to put Wilt back in. Wilt doesn't have the authority by the rules of the game to put himself in the game. The coach has to send him in. The coach purposely did not. They lose. The blame went to Wilt. Wilt had nothing to do with the loss. He wanted to go back in. They wouldn't let him. Coach hated him and wanted to prove they could win without him. He had a personal vendetta. And he got fired right after. So when you look back on numbers and history and happenstance, none of that actually has anything to do with what players are capable of. Michael Jordan had a fantastic family background. He had the best coaching, quite possibly, of any player ever. If you go back and look, he had absolutely phenomenal coaches at every level, at every step. He had Hall of Fame college coaches as the assistant coaches at North Carolina that helped him with his game every day in practice. And then he goes to the Olympic team, and he's being coached by Bob Knight, George Raveling. And then when he goes to the NBA, he's got Hall of Fame coaches. He's got championship winning coaches teaching him and helping him. And every summer he'd go back to North Carolina, where at North Carolina they have a thing that all the old players come back and play there during the summer. So when he would go back to North Carolina, he's being coached by Dean Smith and Roy Williams, and he's playing with Walter Davis and all the North Carolina greats that had played before him. So you're getting better competition all the time, and you're getting reference points. You're able to grade yourself and improve, and you've got quality people helping you improve.
Yeah. So with the skills, I got a video lined up here. Can you tell me how much better can this get in respect to the skills, or how do people play nowadays versus versus Michael Jordan going and doing this drill? Is there anything that is significantly different that you can see? And just tell me when to pause.
Taking a defensive stance. The thing that I'm looking at right now is he's playing parallel. So now he's playing me to go either way, which is good. Which and also, to me, means all I have to do is give him a nice little fake this way. He's going to think and feel that that's the way I'm going. My change of direction is a little bit better to use when you see a guy with the parallel stance. Mainly because he doesn't know where you're going. So now you have so many options, you just try to use as many options as you can. Now, if he had his right foot forward, that to me is saying, now he wants you to go this way. Last thing I want to do is go where the defense wants me to go. I want to go opposite. So this is when now he takes his step that way. The change of direction means he's got to pick up this foot and open, then slide to keep up to you as an offensive player. That takes more time than you taking that crossover and driving to the hole. So you have the advantage in that sense. Now, if he has his other foot up, this is what I was telling you about being able to go both ways. Now you can do the same thing and attack it this way. You see what I mean? So now he can't limit your options. So you should look, before you take your stance, look how the defense is playing you, and then decide which is your pivot foot, your right foot or your left foot, and then attack. If my man is taking a defensive stance,
that's a great base. That right there is more, I think, today what you would consider middle school to early high school level teaching, which maybe that's what that video was meant for. I'm trying to remember when those were. I think those were made in '99. I think they actually were made for that age group. But yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental starting point, you know. And this is why when I coached, I used to always take defensive. I always thought offensively, when dealing with the ball and when dealing with motion, fundamentals are extremely important. Always the I'm trying to remember the old football coach at Green Bay. Can you help me out here?
Oh, I'm not sure. But
from the
old
60s,
one, I'm not sure.
Won the first Super Bowls and all that. Then he went to Washington. God, I can't think of his name. Anyway, he said his game plan was, we're not going to do anything that the defense hasn't seen. We're just going to execute. We're going to stick with the fundamentals. Lombardi, there you go. Thank you very much. You can always count on aircraft carrier. Vince Lombardi always preach. They know where we're going to go. They know who our best players are. They know what we're doing. This is nothing new. We're just going to execute. When I tell you to block that guy, you're going to block him. When this is where the hole is going to be, that's where y'all are going to make it. When we throw this 7-yard pass, you're going to catch it. You're going to be open because you're going to catch it. And it was just, we're going to do it better. And that's what fundamentals teaches you. In basketball, where it's a constantly moving game, it's more important. If you can control your body, and I always teach my sons this, if you can control your body, you can control the game. Because in basketball, there are more physical errors than there are mental errors. Most games are usually mental errors determine the winner and loser. In basketball, you can have two players doing everything perfectly correct. And it happens a lot. And then it ends up going to just the physical error, the guy that slips, the guy that, swats at the ball and he's trying to be at this point, but his hand is off by 1.5 inches and he ends up fouling instead of hitting the ball. Tiny, tiny things like that. You're putting the ball on the backboard. You put it just 2 inches too high, hits front of the rim and comes out instead of going in. Physical errors determine the champion in basketball far more than in any other sport. So fundamentals offensively are outrageously important. But I believe fundamentals defensively are ridiculous. Because every player's been to the same camps. When you talk about these players, they've all played AAU against each other. Some of them played a year of college in the same conferences against each other. Some of them grew up together and played against each other. So when you go to all these camps and they teach you this is how you stand on defense. Okay, well, you're supposed to be defending your basket. And as Bill Russell said, defense is the most offensive part of my game. And what he meant by that is, so many people sit back on defense. They sit back, wait for the offense to make a move or start a play, and then react. If your defense is reacting, you'll never win. You have to attack the ball. And I used to always teach to attack the ball. I don't want you in that little proper defensive stance that they always teach, because that's telling the offense which way they should go. You're giving them away your defense. But offensively, you need to have the strict fundamentalism because you're trying to work as a team, as a cohesive unit. So you're not only, when you're doing a jab step right and then you're going left like he's teaching there, it's not just a one-on-one game. Okay? It's not just a one-on-one game. The rest of the offensive players have to move to different spots according to what the guy with the ball does. Right? So if you fake them out, basically you're giving up a one and done. Either you make it or you miss it, and that's the end of the possession. There's no offensive rebounds. There's no picks and screens. There's no bailouts. There's just you go 1-on-5 and we sit and watch and then go down the other end. So offensive fundamentals are so very important. And like I said, Jordan always had fantastic coaching. And what he was showing in that video has never changed. What changes is where you use that stance. Like obviously today, most offenses start at the 3-point line because the 3-pointer is so prevalent. So you want to draw the defense out because they have to cover it. So you pull them out and then you move the ball around to see what, depending on your player personnel and the coaching, where you want to get a shot from. That's another thing that casuals don't understand is this isn't the you down at the Y, and this isn't playing out on the playground or you in the driveway. Everything is predetermined. These are the best players in the world. And when you see one guy do a move and go one way, and then you see other offensive players run to different spots on the court, it's because it's already been decided that this is what's going to happen. If he goes this way, then you need to go here, and you need to come over here, and you need to be the trailer, and then you need, all that's decided at this level. That's what training camps are for. In preseason, they work on it all during the season. All of these things, there are no what ifs. There's, I didn't know that was going to happen from a teammate. Everyone knows where everyone is supposed to be when each particular guy has the ball in a certain position, running a certain play. But the thing about the fundamentals is it seems today the rules have been so relaxed, and they started being relaxed in the late 70s, early 80s. They started loosening rules at one point, rules were put in place for the first, 70, 80 years that the game existed. The rules were put in place the same way rules of any game are put in place, to make it a level playing field, right?
Yeah.
So it's fair for everyone. Then professional sports started making stupid money. and that changes the business philosophy of the league, what their goals are, and what's achievable. And it stopped being about the highest level of pure sport, and it began becoming about entertainment. So to promote the entertainment value, they started loosening the rules. So these crazy athletic competitors could show off their athletic ability. Whether they won or lose didn't matter. They became billionaires or millionaires anyway. So it didn't matter. It used to be there was a time that the only way you could make money was you had to win. Only the winning team got their contracts renewed and got raises and got bonuses, that type of thing. Now it's all guaranteed money. It doesn't matter anything else. Aircraft carriers 70s was my favorite era of basketball. It was amazing. But when they started opening it up and allowing athletics and loosening the rules, it meant the fundamentals were less important. The fundamentals taught you how to do a jump stop. The reason you had to do a jump stop was because back then there was no gather step. There was no half step extra driving to the basket. There was none of that. So you had to do it perfectly. And that's what Jordan is showing in these shorts, is the fundamental way of how it is supposed to be, the way it was taught for really 70 years. And it wasn't until the loosening of NBA rules that it no longer is as effective. Obviously, somebody with a very strong fundamental base is going to do well, obviously. But it's not the determining factor like it used to be.
So that's the question is, I know you said that the fundamentals haven't changed, but is that really a true statement in respect to the baseline of skills that the kids today that play basketball are taught? Is it, now I don't teach basketball, but I see all these videos on YouTube where these guys are flipping over their entire hand over under the basket, trying to teach these dribbling drills. And I understand that fundamentals is supposed to be the baseline of things, but have the fundamentals evolved where there's more to it now due to the rules changes and the allowance of certain activities, particularly in the AAU, and hopefully for a lot of these kids trying to get into the NBA, that they're being taught a certain set.
No, we're talking two different things here semantically. Fundamentals, by the definition of fundamental, they don't change.
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
change.
Yeah,
they don't. That's the issue. The thing is, fundamentals are based on rules. It's like physics and laws of nature. Okay, well, if the laws of nature change, if we're on Mars instead of Earth, then the laws of physics also change. Doesn't mean that they no longer are true. They're just not in this particular sphere of influence. The proper way of doing a jump stop, proper form in shooting a basketball, proper two-handed chest pass, preferably to a player and not to the basket from 40 feet away. All of these things are certains. They're certainties. They're the way to do it with the least amount of variable for mistakes. The reason coaches tell you fundamentally, you jump straight up on a rebound, you grab the ball with two hands, you pull it down, you keep it chest high. Okay, well, why is that the fundamental? Well, because if you jump up and you jump into somebody, it's a foul. It can be over the back, it can, pushing, whatever. If you try and grab it with one hand, you can fail to secure it. It can get knocked out of your hand before you secure it. You could lose the possession. When you bring it down, you want to hold it at chest height right here, because that is where you have the most strength and it's least likely to get knocked out of your hand. If you hold it up here, a bigger guy can pull it out or knock it out. If you hold it down here, a guard can tangle you up and get a jump ball and get the alternating possession. But if you hold it right here, any player has to physically reach and grab it, which is a foul on them. And they can't take it away from you, because you're using your chest, your shoulder, your back muscles to hold it, as well as your hands. That's why that fundamental move is there. Now that they call the game different ways, does that change that is the most secure method? No, that is still the fundamental method. But because of the laxation of the rules, it makes less of a difference now.
Yeah.
But the fundamental is still the fundamental.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a great question. Aircraft carrier, are fundamentals considered a bag? Your bag, as I understand it, and maybe it's changed from back when I grew up playing, but your bag was how many moves they used to say back in my day, you say in your pocket, not in your bag. What you got in your pocket? What can you pull out? And that's almost always referring to one-on-one moves against another player, which I would secretly work on my quote-unquote bag by myself or just with one or two friends, but I never showed it to my team or in real games, because I always preached bag is irrelevant. If you make the proper pass at the proper time to take the proper shot, nobody needs a bag. If you move the ball to the open man, you set picks and screens, and you're able to just make an open set shot, you'll always win. But a bag is how many finishing moves can you make off of that fundamental? Like what Jordan was teaching there, as far as the jab step and then counter move to the other side. Okay, well, what do you do then? That just gets you the spacing to take a shot. But then what kind of shot do you take? Do you pull up for a jumper? Do you continue to drive to the basket? Do you take one dribble and do a leaner? Do you go all the way to the rim? Can you go right? Can you go left? Can you double pump? Can you fade away? What are you doing off of that fundamental is your bag. Some people only have two options. They either take it all the way to the basket or they pull up. Other guys have 15 options, like a Kyrie, off of that one fundamental move. That is the bag. But the bag begins with the fundamental, because if you don't have the fundamental footwork to create the space, it doesn't matter how many different types of shot you can make on your own in the backyard. It's how many. It's like if you want to do it, okay, everyone knows Jordan's last shot is a bull, right?
Yes.
He goes right to the free throw line. He pulls up on Russell, pushes or didn't push, whatever argument you want to make. He rises, he hits that shot, and he holds it. Can you make that shot, Dart?
I mean, sometimes. But
you can make a pull-up from the free throw line, can you not?
I can, yeah.
So can I. So can a couple of my daughters. So can every high school kid I've ever seen play. It's not what makes you great is not being able to do something that other people can do. It's being able to do what you're supposed to do against anyone. Yeah. Now, could I do that? Could I make that pull up on the free throw line against Byron Russell? No, he'd eat me alive. I probably wouldn't even get the shot up above my shoulders. He would have taken it already.
Yeah.
And that's what fans don't understand. It's a two-way thing. It's just, you're just not playing one-on-one in a driveway. This is a whole big thing going on here. And being able to maneuver through it, the ebb and the flow of an NBA season, and dealing with the players and the talents and the calls and the travel and the coaches and the fans, the injuries, it all is in one big bundle. And being able to maneuver through that life makes you either great or just another good player or a washout.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by it. I could sometimes do it. I'm pretty good at the free throw if I've been practicing for a while, but at the same time, what I meant by I can do it sometimes, as it depends on who's defending me, and it depends on who's, etc. It
But
depends.
that also right there is a difference between great players and good players.
Mhm.
When I asked you, can you hit that shot? Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
You see, that's not Michael's answer. Okay.
Yeah.
You ask him, can you hit that shot? Every time. Against anybody in any situation.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So many times it's confidence. I've seen so many players that when I just play with them loosely, we're just playing like before practice. They're teammates of mine back in the day, that before practice, we're just running up and down the court. It looks like a modern NBA game. We're just running up and down. No one's playing defense. We're either chucking up 30-footers or dunking and all that. And, before the coaches walk in, blow the whistles. And
Yeah.
I had teammates that looked like God status. They could dunk 20 different ways. They'd pull up from 35 feet. They take one dribble over half court, pull up and drain 3-4 in a row. But then the game starts, the team starts, and they have to play under a structure, and they can't handle it. They're sixth men, seventh men, first, second guy off the bench, never even a starter. But when we're just running around playing loose, they're dominating the whole team and making all of us look stupid. But they couldn't play underneath in a rigid, organized structure. And why? Because they didn't have proper fundamentals.
So with that said, do you think that fundamentals are the purpose of fundamentals is to support the 5-on-5 game and in respect to these individual skills that we were seeing Michael doing? So if you watch these, are they more so to support a 5-on-5 situation, or are they more so to support a 1-on-1 situation? And if it's both, why? Which one does it support more?
Well, it's for all of them. That's why, once again, we're back to the word, the root word. Fundamentals. It always works. That's the whole point. Doesn't matter. 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. The first basketball game was 9-on-9. It does not matter. Fundamentals are fundamentals. They are the most efficient way of doing a certain move or getting a certain space, because it is the most secure, solid, non-variable way of doing it. That's what makes it a fundamental. There's the least chance of physical error.
Yeah.
The more players you put on the court, the less fundamentals matter, because the more bailouts you have. If I'm playing 1-on-1, my move is my move. If I mess up my move, I'm stuck. Right? You've played 1-on-1 and you try to do a move and you chuck your feet, or you fumble the ball, or the guy guesses the move and gets the spot in front of you and you're stuck. You've picked up your dribble. It's 1-on-1. You're 18 feet from the basket. The dude's all over you and your hips are turned sideways. You just have to throw up a hook shot.
Yeah.
Because it's 1-on-1. But if you do the exact same move like what Jordan was showing there, and it's 2-on-2 and you beat your man, now you've got a 2-on-1 going to the basket. If defender comes up on you, you pass to the man, he leaves, your teammate gets a layup. If he stays on the teammate, then you get an open shot. Right? So now there's more variables, but you have more options off of those variables. If you have 4 teammates and you fumble a fundamental, you have 4 bailouts. 5 really, because you can always just chuck it up, which is, I guess, the modern way of doing it. But not just the modern. That was also the ABA way of doing it. So
I like chest passing from 40 feet away. That's my favorite move.
yeah, well,
At the basket. to be
Steph
clear.
perfected it.
Yeah.
Cheers to Steph. Played with his dad, by the way.
Awesome stuff.
His dad made 13. Dell made 13 turnaround jump shots from the center court circle
Well,
at a basketball camp.
yeah.
I saw it. Only one even hit the rim.
Wow.
But that was in his heyday. That was when he was an active NBA player. So he was stroking, that was his livelihood. That was what made him rich. So that was what he did. People forget how good his father was. His father could do everything that Steph could do to a point. He could shoot 97% as good as Steph can.
Yeah.
But the rules of the day, the strategies of the day, and the teams that he was on, he was not a focal point. You realize, I believe at one time, he was on the same team with Mark Price and Steve Kerr.
The question is here with guys like that had this great skill set, and although great player, however you want to put it, not nearly in the same stratosphere as all of the attention, all the accolades, all the eminence surrounding Steph Curry, let alone the championships. I know you mentioned the rule changes, the culture of the game, but really, how can somebody identify an all-time great player that didn't meet all that kind of typical criteria for somebody to say that you're great? How can you identify these types of people across time? Let's say Del Curry never had Steph Curry, and he just was a great shooter back in the 80s and 90s. How could somebody tell that he could have been an all-time great or was an all-time great in a lot of these same circumstances?
Well, that's the thing. It's only casual fans don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you followed back then, if you played back then everyone knew what Dell could do with the ball. I think I think Kemba Walker took his record, but until Kemba Walker, Del Curry was the all-time leading scorer for the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, wow.
Okay? He was an NBA franchise's all-time leading scorer. So don't act like the guy ain't great. All right?
Yeah.
What it is everybody wants to focus on individual, how many All-Stars, how many MVPs, how many, all that is different. That's, as you always hear me say, situation and circumstance. You have no control. You and I were having a conversation about Pippen and Wilkins. And you mentioned how many first-team All-NBAs Pippen had as opposed to Wilkins. Well, that's because Wilkins came in the league like 2 years after Larry Bird. So when Larry Bird, who played the same position, was winning 3 MVPs in a row, yes, Dominique got second team. He was not considered better than Bird. And you know what? Pippen wouldn't have been either. Pippen didn't start getting his until after Bird and Dominique retired. So it's all situation and circumstance. That's why you can't go by individual, especially voted statistics and numbers and awards. People talk about the eye test. The problem is 90% of people doing an eye test have no skill themselves, so they don't know what they're looking at. Yeah. I mean, they won't sit here and argue basketball. Some guy that's done nothing except play on a playground or maybe was a bench warmer in middle school, and his kids play, and he watches NBA all the time, Well, I love Pippen too. Pippen is fantastic. But when you sit here and you talk about eye test, well, how many games with players of this caliber have you been on the court in? If your answer is none, then your eye test is not equivalent to mine.
Yeah.
You know, we have different levels. It's like I have a relative that's going to have heart surgery in a couple of days. Okay, well, if I had to pick the surgeon and the surgeon was being picked off my eye test, I have no clue. I wouldn't be able to pick, okay, this surgeon is better than this one because they're how they're able to handle that scalpel handling drill. That's just that's the better. You know, that's you got a bunch of amateurs that have no idea what they're talking about the eye test. You have no clue.
Yeah.
I have little clue. I have some clue because I was in it. And I was in it not trying to get mine. I was in it just reveling in the amazement of it all. When I was injured, I was sitting in the league office, or not the league office, but the team office. I was learning how does the travel work? How does that get scheduled? How do do the leagues, how do they coordinate, the games, and like the schedule comes out and the schedule's set and everything is set up. Okay, well, if you got, for us, if you got 12 teams in the league all over an entire continent, plus a little over, one team wasn't even on the same continent. And then you sit there and you're scheduling the games and you're scheduling the hotels and all the press type of stuff that goes with it. And then you got individuals having to deal with injuries. Okay, well, if you get injured on the road and it's a serious injury and you have to go to a hospital halfway across the country from where you live and where your home team is based. Okay, the team moves on and they go on to the next game. What happens to the guy that's still in the hospital, with that cracked bone in his foot, and they don't want him to fly because it's going to swell? Okay, well, how does he get back? How do we deal with that? See, I know about that stuff because that's what I wanted to learn, because I thought I was going to have a career in basketball. So I was trying to learn all that stuff. But that stuff that casual fans have no idea about and know nothing about, have no feel for, no empathy for, and they don't get it.
Yeah.
But
well, I would leave the guy with the cracked foot in that hospital somewhere in Southeast Asia, and
you want to know the truth? You want to know the truth? It depends on how much the team is paying him.
Yeah.
If you're the third point guard on the team, you're left behind. If you're the starting small forward, who is also the starting small forward on the national team for the Olympics, he gets a special airplane going just to get him.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the home team doctor flies halfway across the continent to go see him in the hospital. So it's a tiered society, so to speak. There are kings and there are serfs. And even though I don't like the water, I was pretty good surfing.
Yeah, there's and then you're catching E. coli and all that stuff. But no,
luckily, no.
No, yeah.
Thank God McDonald's are everywhere.
You could still get E. coli
even back in the
80s. Yeah. No, but with that said, the eye test, and then just the aspects of knowing if somebody's great or not across all time. I think that, do you think that videos like this Michael Jordan video helps you if you're an amateur, if you're new to watching the game, or you want to improve your eye test capability?
Yep. Absolutely. These are what you shouldn't be watching highlights and lowlights. Instructional videos are everything. Now, the thing I know, I started in preparation. When you went this way with the channel, I started watching a lot of instructional videos. And the thing I noticed about instructional videos today, and these are former NBA players who are now coaches, college coaches, assistant coaches, ball handling coaches and stuff like that at the NBA and other, or in the developmental leagues, G League, stuff like that. But the stuff they're teaching, it almost feels forced. Like, they're having to come up with new ways to try and make an old point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see guys sitting here with, this is a basketball practice, and they got 2 tennis balls in their hand, and they're like juggling them off the wall. Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's great. That's a cool trick. All right. How does that help you get past your man with 4 seconds to go and you're down by 1?
You pull them out your pocket and you start juggling in front of them.
Yeah, it's like they try and come up with, and maybe it's because in this modern age, kids, everyone, attention spans are less. So maybe they got to come up with different ideas. I don't want to outright criticize their coaching and teaching methods because I haven't spoke to these people, so I don't know. But for me, on the outside looking in, it seems like a lot of just let's make up this drill and let's see what goofy stuff we can make these kids do, thinking they're actually getting better.
Yeah.
Like they're doing. I was at MP Park, which I've simulcast from. That's the park where Michael Jordan grew up playing. I did a show of ours out there once, and after the show, I stayed there at the court, and a guy came up, and he was getting paid by the parents of these 6 kids to teach them basketball. And he had them doing all these drills individually. And I didn't say anything because it ain't my place, it ain't my business. So I didn't say nothing, but I wanted to go over to him so bad and said, dude, what are you teaching them?
Yeah.
You're just teaching them multiple, like, one-on-one offensive moves. You got 6 kids here. Teach some team defense.
Yeah.
Teach some offensive spacings. Teach some pick and rolls, some give and goes. How do you run a picket fence? Some strategy. But the entire time, I was there for an hour and a half. I wanted to go home, but I stayed because I wanted to see their entire practice just to see what he was having them do. And he's having these 10 to 12-year-olds just do like trying to act like James Harden step back and all that stuff. It's like, why, rather than trying to teach a 12-year-old advanced NBA footwork, why don't you just teach them how to run to the open spot and call for the ball and make a wide open layup?
Yeah.
How to make the cut without the ball so you don't have to be able to do 47 different things. How about that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of these, I didn't say anything. But
a lot of these,
I don't get it. I don't see all these newfangled ideas going, well, you got to do this. And there's one where this coach, and he's as reputable as they can get. I remember the name. The guy was a bench warmer in the NBA, which means he was in the NBA, and was, all conference, possibly all American in college. I don't remember his specific, credentials, but the dude knows what he's talking about. And he's sitting here pounding the ball, and he's moving his feet, hopping each direction, like showing guys, how to move and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, but when you're pounding your dribble like that and you're hopping, changing your hip space, to change different directions, you're giving away what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're showing which way the play is going to be ran to. Well, that's the opposite of what you want to do. You don't want the defense knowing.
I think a lot of these guys on Facebook and YouTube that do these instructionals, more so, I don't say more so because I'm sure holistically they're getting paid more by whoever's they're giving the actual instructionals to. But I think they try to make some of these drills more fantastical, especially the ones that you see on the internet, because you're like, wow, that's something I've never seen before. This guy has got a big YouTube channel, and I think they try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, well, I'm doing an instructional with a kid, and now I'm doing something super innovative, quote unquote. So you should come and I'll do this for you and your kid. And I think it's just kind of like this the circle of getting new customers and then trying to do the next weird thing to attract somebody at the same time and make a couple extra bucks off of whatever social media platform. But,
Yeah, making money off the stuff is nothing I was ever good at. I mean, I used to do basketball camps in my hometown, and I used to do them for free. Up at the
Yeah.
basketball, I would print out, 100 copies of the ad, just on typing paper, Xerox paper, hand them to, my best friend, and we just go around and tape them up on, street corners and at the basketball courts and the schools. And then at, the school we usually did that was Sudley Elementary School, and show up there. And it was just a simple look. At the time I was in high school, and it was like, we play high school basketball, and we're going to be down at Sudley Elementary at 9 a.m. on Saturday for 3 hours. And any kids that show up that want to learn, we'll teach them what we know.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd get as much as 20 kids there.
Yeah.
And we would just teach the simple stuff. And usually what I used to always do is, if you had a kid that at a young age could go behind his back, between his legs, do all that fancy stuff, I'd say, okay, that's fantastic. It's really great, but only if he knows how to pass. I don't care if he knows how to shoot. If he can pass, because at a young age like that, you get a 9-year-old go between his legs and behind his back and all that. Every defensive kid is going to turn and watch. And that's when I told their players, cut to the basket.
Yeah.
And I would always tell him, go between your legs, behind your back twice, and then throw it under the basket. You're going to have 3 open teammates down there to catch it. Someone's getting a layup. And it always worked.
Yeah. What do you think is the big for Michael Jordan and his time versus all time? Is this something that you think is going to be recognized across, coming into the future? I'm sure you understand or have seen that, or I know you've seen that there's usually a passing of the torch of, oh, well, this era is the best that ever happened. Everyone else prior sucks. Do you think that it's ever going to be realized that guys like Michael Jordan had great fundamentals that they would have been able to play in today's era, and this applies across all time? Do you think that this will ever be realized in fan culture?
No, because the NBA won't let it, because that's not their business model. Business model put forth by David Stern was, whoever's playing today is the best we've ever had. This is the best product you could ever watch. What your dad used to watch, what your older brothers used to watch, yeah, they were great, but they are not like today. You need to come watch today. You need to buy tickets to the game tomorrow. That's how you become billionaires. Truth be damned, it doesn't matter whether it's true. That's how they make money. I just watched the college game yesterday, LaSalle against St. Bonnie's. It was a fantastic just display of traditional basketball. It was amazing. It was the best game I've seen in a decade. Easily a decade.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. They took threes. They made threes. But it wasn't the whole game. They were doing back screens, cutting to the hole, working around the weak side. They were getting it in the post. You had guys penetrating. You had guys demonstrating their athletic ability. You had hard pressing defense. You had everything. It was a fantastic game to watch. It was pure basketball, uncorrupted by the dollars of the NBA and the quick click of the dunk or the 35-footer. You got to actually see a real game.
I just want to add for the audience, if you agree with anything that's being said or you disagree with anything being said, I've dropped the link in the chat. Please call in. We'd like to hear your perspectives. Aircraft carrier, you've been here for some time. You should call in.
Yeah, everybody call in. Tell me how wrong I am.
More casual hoops head. I know you've been here. We've had a couple other people. The Lens of Leisure was here earlier. We had a guy named Aiden in here earlier that was commenting. EJ MVR, amongst others. Please call in. We want to hear what you have to say, your opinions on this situation. If Michael Jordan is only skilled for his time, or all time. But yeah, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your perspective as either a basketball player, a fan, enthusiast, or somebody who's just curious about the game of basketball. So, yeah. So, Rex, what do you think is the most helpful kind of instructional for people that want to get into the game? What's the first thing you should start with to improve your game drastically for any sort of drill you could do?
Well, number one would be the what you have posted, the 9 Jordan videos of basically starting off your possession with the ball. That's the great starting point. Then you ask yourself, okay, well, what comes next? Pass or a shot, right? So just proper shooting form and proper passing form. A baseball pass is proper in baseball. A football pass is proper in football. They're not proper passes in basketball. Basketball is bigger, requires 2 hands to properly and accurately pass. So passing drills, ball handling drills, I think are overdone. Everyone wants, that's the easiest way to show off and the easiest skill to compensate for. Being able to do all the fancy dribbling really gets you nowhere. You get no points for fancy dribbling, and there's a 24-second clock, so you can't just keep doing it.
Yeah.
It has a place, obviously, but kids that I would sit there, we had a kid named Kim Bush. He could dribble like nobody's business. I mean, he was doing stuff at 13 that we used to see guys like Curly Neal and Pistol Pete do.
Wow.
He was amazing. Couldn't shoot, couldn't play D, couldn't rebound. Didn't even make the high school team. He was by far the best dribbler, not only at our high school, but in the county. He'd go to all the playgrounds playing against men, and he could out-dribble anyone. Couldn't even make the high school team.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't do anything else. He wasted so much of his time doing fancy dribbling, because when you do the fancy dribbling, people pay attention. So you get attention. So that's great. But you don't get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should start shutting this thing down. But I guess some questions. So, aircraft carrier, what grade do you give him today for his questions and his input today?
He had great ones. Yeah. No, aircraft carrier is an A+. I think he's our only honor student.
I saw a casual hoops head. I don't remember what specific questions he was asking.
That's where I'm trying to get back and look.
Yeah. I think he was just making comments.
I thought there was one question in there. No? Maybe I'm thinking it was someone. Maybe it was someone else I thought was.
No, just comments. And then I think aircraft carrier is the only one that asked questions. You got 11 people watching. And for the people that don't know, this 11 actually is 500. Just for the people that don't know. But yeah, Casual Hoop said did not ask any questions. He confirmed it. Aiden was making comments, and the Lens of Leisure were making comments. But yeah, so aircraft carrier, A plus.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys should call in. It's something we get to expand the conversation.
yeah, nobody wants
Get
to
to hear
talk
your
to me.
perspectives. Well, you are David Letterman. You are kind of a big deal.
The
been
opposite
on
of a big
time
deal.
TV. But I know you're retired now, but now you're talking basketball on YouTube. But anyway, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. We had a bigger audience today. Not as many people commenting. I guess people were just interested in listening. Oh, we have a question right now from TT. What skill set actually wins you the game?
Oh. We were talking about a specific skill on the court, a physical skill, because what actually wins you the games more likely than not is your basketball IQ. I mean, I've played games. See, you guys look at me. You see me, right? I walk out on a court. No one's sweating, right? They see the old guy with the beard, the glasses that, I don't even own basketball shoes anymore. Nobody's sweating me. I still beat everyone because I understand the game better than they do. That's the number one reason. But if you want to talk about a specific skill that a young player should attempt to perfect that will most help his team, number one is free throws. And number two is being able to make as accurate a 15 to 18-foot pass as you can. Those will lead to winning basketball more than anything. You don't have to dunk from the free throw line. You don't have to be able to hit 30-foot threes. You don't have to do any of that. If you know how to pass and you know how to hit all your free throws, you'll always find the open man. Guys, your teammates will always get easy shots, and you will never hurt your team. And that's the big thing. I learned I was never the best player on my team. I was never top 3. But I always kept progressing because I never hurt my team. When I came in, the team never lacked. And that's what I hung my hat on, is I'd go in the game. The other team would never get a run going while I was in the game. And that was my worth. The coach could trust me spelling the starter for 2 minutes at a time every quarter. And that's how many, minutes I usually average. It was usually 6 to 8 minutes a game. And it was just spelling at the point guard spot and notching up the defense. But the number one thing is understanding the game. If you watch a basketball game, this is the challenge I used to always give to kids that I would teach. Watch a game, right? Watch a game, whatever, on TV, recorded, however they do it these days, the DVR, whatever. When you watch a game, never watch a guy with the ball. Make it a point to always take your eye off the guy that has possession of the ball and learn to watch what everyone else is doing. That's when you learn how to play basketball. Bill Russell had the greatest quote. Everyone knows at the pro level what to do with the ball when it's in their hands. But there's 10 guys on the court and only one ball. What you do when the ball is not in your hands determines the winner. And that is the truest thing I have ever heard in all of sports.
Absolutely. Casual Hoop said, you don't know until you try. And no question or no comment is a stupid comment. It's about sharing and trying to learn if that's where you feel like you are. And then just really having a conversation, because this is the platform to do so. We're inviting you to call in. So we'd like to hear from you. Now, there's a difference if you just don't want to call in, that's fine. But if you have if you're nervous about calling in, please don't feel nervous. We'd like to hear you and your opinions and your and have a conversation with you.
I disagree with Casual Hoops Head completely, brother. If you are a Casual Hoops Head, you are exactly who we want to call in. You can ask any question pertaining to any part of the sport that you have a question on, an interest in, and we will do our utmost to give you a responsible answer. That's
Maybe
what
not.
we're here for. That's
I'm
what we're
kidding.
trying to build. This is instructional channel. That's why all the shorts with teaching. Everyone wants to show highlights of these guys in the NBA. That doesn't help the casual player get better. We can't do those things.
Yep, instructionals and NBA history, NBA context of how things came to be. But yeah, no, please call in. I consider myself a casual basketball fan. I think I have some more enthusiasm than a lot of people in respect to what I like about it, but I don't think I'm particularly super knowledgeable about basketball. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy learning about it. So if you have that kind of enthusiasm and passion for it, which I imagine you do, since your username is Casual Hoops Head,
Yeah,
that would be I think it would be perfect if you call in.
yeah, this
I'd
isn't
be
an
here for it.
argumentative debate style show. It's not like if you call in and you have a misconception about something that we're going to like make fun of you or ridicule you or turn it into an argument and belittle you. That's not what we do. We're here to try and show you what the game is really about, not what the homogenized product that the NBA puts forward to make billions of dollars a year is about. But what the actual I'm not a Jordan fan, a LeBron fan, a Shaq fan, a Kobe fan, whoever you want to name. I'm not a fan. Okay? I'm not a fan at all. I'm a fan of James Naismith. That's who I'm a fan of. I have no favorite player. I have no favorite team. I love the game. Like I said, that college game I watched yesterday was just so much fun to watch. That was just, oh man, that basketball was so fun to watch.
I, on the other hand, am a fan of a lot of these guys. And that's not a problem to be a fan of things. That's just how Rex approaches it. He's not a fan of the homogeneity.
Well, did we ever go?
Do
you remember the whole? Did I ever give you I'm sure I did multiple times. Why I'm not a fan?
Len bias.
Yeah. Back then, I was a high school senior, and I was just a huge Len Bias fan. Used to watch him play. I'm from that area. I saw him. Never got to play with him on the playground. I was at the playground when he was there. Temple Hills was where they were playing. And I couldn't get on the court. And then by the time I got picked up, he left. So I never got to play against Len Bias or with Len Bias, but I got to watch him close up, literally 3 feet away from me, right there on the court in front of me. I got to see him obviously on TV. I got to see him at home games at Cole Fieldhouse. You know, I had his jersey. He was the player I was a fan of, and when he died, I was done. So that was the end of that. Question, is basketball ruined now? No. Basketball absolutely is not ruined. The NBA has chased dollar over substance. And at some point, any businessman will tell you there's a tipping point to that. And they're reaching it. But basketball as a sport is as phenomenal as it ever was. And that game yesterday reaffirmed me of that belief.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think basketball is ruined. I think that it has taken somewhat of a downward spiral as a sport as a whole. In respect to, it doesn't seem to me that it's as casually played across neighborhoods as it used to be. Um, it doesn't seem that people have the enthusiasm now. I'm not saying it's basketball itself. It's a cultural thing with, I think, a lot of the smartphones and the tablets and all that sort of things. It seems like kids don't just go out and play basketball like they used to anymore.
I have a theory on that.
Mhm.
It's trifold. Three different layers, all
Yeah.
simultaneous. Number one, basketball has become a hardcore sport. To
Yeah.
be a baller is a character defining trait these days. So the casual basketball playing kid, the kid that just wants to play 21 in his driveway with two of his friends, those games are shattered because one of those friends wants to prove he's the next LeBron and wants to do the trash talk and do the 8-step back fade away and shoot from the neighbor's driveway because he's Steph rather than just playing the game. So yes, it's corrupted at that level. Second, you have a lot of options these days. Soccer is growing at that level. You have a whole lot of children in martial arts that's really exploded for that age group the last decade. They're finding other things to do that aren't as hardcore. Like I said, I don't know what other way of putting it. There are no casual basketball players anymore. You're either a baller or you're a poser. So nobody just goes out and just plays occasionally anymore or watches a game occasionally, goes to a game as an event. I mean, and I can speak to this because I was never casual. I saw Wilt play when I was like either 4 or 5. I think I was 5 and just turned 5. And I saw Wilt play, and that was that. That was it. I was hooked. Now, I didn't actually play basketball on a school team until way later. I never played on an official, but I would play in my backyard for 8 hours a day after seeing Wilt. And we had season tickets, so I got to see everybody. I got to see Pistol Pete and Magic and Bird, all of them. So that was cool. But I was never casual. So I had friends that were. And I kind of chased them away. Because if they were going to come into my house and we were going to play in the backyard, I was going to beat them. That's just the attitude I had. So I had, that's why I can speak on it now. Because I was that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Rex, do you have any final words for the people in respect to the topic of the stream?
Just recognize that human evolution has not changed. And if you were to take Bob Cousy, if you want, or, Andy Phillips, whoever you want to pick, Slater Martin, you take any of these top NBA point guards from the 1940s and 50s, and you drop them in 2026, and you give them the time to learn the new rules and new methods and play with the new equipment, they're going to be just as good as the top NBA players of today. Human evolution does not change. So give them their respect.
Absolutely. I want to thank everyone for coming. I think it's a great topic, a great conversation to have about really where basketball society is. Are these things good for you to learn? Is Michael Jordan really a relevant all-time great? I think these are things to consider when you look at things like these instructionals and you look at conversations that are being had along basketball culture. So I appreciate you all for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I'd love to see you guys call in the future. It would be great to have other people call in, put their perspectives in. And if you do disagree, please disagree. It's fine. In respect to the debate style thing that Rex was alluding to, please feel free to disagree. The show is not supposed to be negative or toxic, so we'll just have a respectful disagreement. And try and
Yeah,
stick,
we're just
put our
talking
piece.
basketball, guys. We're just talking
Yeah.
basketball. We got a last question here.
All righty. Could Michael Jordan maintain the same dominance championship-wise if we take out Scotty and Rodman and put Drexler and Barkley, etc.? Let me answer this first. I think no. I think that really the team makeup is really dependent on roles and personalities and being able to share the ball more so. Drexler and a Barkley were both ball dominant guys, even though they played in the triangle in respect to the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. I think that their impact would have been affected in respect to what they were known to be good as. Not to say that they couldn't have been successful. It's just that the way they were playing up to that point, if you were to put them in with the success of the triangle offense and Phil Jackson, I would say they would not have been as dominant. What are your thoughts, Rex?
Well, no, they wouldn't have, obviously. This is where it's learning the team game. When you get to the NBA, you can be the greatest player you've ever played. With you can be the best in your high school, in your state. You can be the best. You can go in college and be conference player of the year. You can be an All-American. You can be all that. You go to the NBA, you're still a rookie, and you're not the team leader in 99.999% of teams. Someone else is the team leader. Someone else gets that role. So you have to adjust. Barkley was never comfortable in a supportive role. He struggled when he was with Julius and with Moses. He talks about it regularly and how much he needed Moses's guidance to get through those early years to become the main guy. He would not have worked with Jordan because Jordan would have been the main guy, and you're saying Barkley would now have to take a back seat. He wasn't going to take a back seat. Drexler would have been more likely, but I've seen some comments from Drexler that make me think that maybe he might have had an issue playing second fiddle as well. Although he had the skills to play like Pippen. He could have been Pippen skill-wise, physically. He could have filled that role perfectly. But I don't know if mentally he would have accepted being the number two. Pippen was a number two. This was my argument with Dart talking about the whole Pippen against Dominique thing. Is Pippen never proved that he could be a number one, whereas Dominique he carried an entire franchise for a decade, and with integrity, and was that guy. And that's the difference maker to me. Now, you need Scotties. You need Rodmans. Now, the question I would ask, if Grant had stayed, so they never got Rodman, and they had Grant through the entire string, both three-peats, I think they still could have done. I think Grant could have done what could have been in Rodman's place, and they would have kept winning.
Yeah, I think that's I'm unsure, but I think maybe to your point is that I think that's a more likely situation versus putting those other guys in there, that they would have been as successful in that second part of their championship run. I don't know if Grant would have wanted, because there were the issues with Scotty, of him wanting to, especially after Michael left, he didn't get that game-winning shot, kind of had an attitude problem, had an attitude problem after getting injured. I
And
think
then early on with the migraines and all that, he just wasn't that guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone is that guy. There are very few of them. That's why we as a group celebrate them, is because there aren't many of those guys. The Birds, the Magics, the Jordans, the total, alpha male personality that leads. And if you fail, they say, I failed. It's their loss, it's their victory. There's very few of those guys that have the ability, the mindset, and honestly, the charisma to make other people follow them, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think just replacing fantastic role players. And this is my argument towards Ori. Why isn't Robert Ori in the Hall of Fame? Because he was basically like a Scottie Pippen. He was a role player, got 7 championships, hit more big shots than Pippen ever did, and fit into multiple championship winning organizations with multiple coaches, and multiple playing styles, and multiple teammates, and was able to come out on the winning end 7 times. That should be celebrated.
Yeah, I do think Pippen was more than just a role player, as a lot of people like to say he was. I think he was a arguably at times the best small forward in the league. I think it was more of a duo situation. But in respect to it versus other duos, if you want to look at guys like Magic and Kareem, it's obviously a different dynamic,
Pippen was not as good as Magic or Kareem. That's a totally different one too. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's a totally different. It's hard because so many fans don't know what I'm talking about. But in the 60s with the Lakers, you had Elgin and West.
Yeah.
And they were more like the Kareem Magic or the Kareem and Oscar. They were like options 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
I don't think Scottie was ever option 1B.
No.
But he was damn sure never less than option 2.
Yeah.
He was always the glue guy. He was always if we need this, it goes to him. If you need someone to make the pass, if you need someone to defend the other team's main guy, if you need this, he was the utility knife, the Swiss Army knife. And he did that probably better than anyone in history, except arguably John Havlicek.
Yeah.
John Havlicek was a fantastic number 2 for a long, long time. He became a fantastic number 1, but not till late in his career.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I get what you're saying with when Bill Russell was on the Celtics. But the aspect, I think that's one thing that people undervalue with Scottie Pippen is his capability to just blanket statement do everything. And it was something that wasn't as fantastical as Michael Jordan with the highlights and the icon that was surrounding him, although Pippen got a lot of the extra shine onto him because of Michael Jordan.
Which is a shame, because he really deserved a lot of that shine just for his own play, regardless of who he was with.
Yes. And
but
he was still,
not everyone, if you want to put it in a football standpoint, not everyone's Tom Brady. Someone has to hike him the ball. Somebody has to block. All those passes he threw, guys had to catch them.
Yep.
Okay, not everyone is that guy. With Chicago, Jordan was that guy. Putting Barkley, who was another one of those that guys, on the same team does not create a better team. That's why super teams so rarely work. That's what super teams are, right? When you get a whole bunch of number one options and put them on the same team, and you automatically think you're going to win everything. It never works. It never works. Philadelphia tried that in the 70s and into the 80s. They got one championship out of it. And the one championship came when the super alpha came in and turned all the other alphas into Bs. And they won. When they tried to play, they got to numerous finals. What was it? 77, 80, 82, 83. I know I'm missing at least one in there. But they kept getting to the finals and losing because they kept trying to play this three-pronged attack with three alpha male leaders on the team. And they'd always get to the finals, but they always lost. And it wasn't until they got an alpha male leader in Moses that made the other alpha males take a step back. And they stopped playing that way. And they just played through one alpha and they won easy. Well, not it's never easy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It would not have made Chicago a better team if they had had Barkley and Drexler. For one thing, your great player, Jordan, is a perimeter player. You don't want to get another perimeter player. Barkley was a high-scoring forward. You don't want to take points and take the ball out of your main player's hands. The one I would argue, if Ewing had gotten to Chicago, they would have had a Boston Celtic-like run, I think, because Ewing didn't need to score. If you watched Ewing in college, he could completely dominate a game without the offense running through him. That's how he was developed. And if he had been with someone like Jordan in the pros, it would have been just monstrous.
Do you think they could have won with because that would have obviously there's the butterfly effect. Do you think they could have gotten somebody like Scotty or later down, or Horace Grant and later down Dennis Rodman with that kind of situation? Again, doesn't have to be those specific guys, but these role players that were able to enable the team.
It would have had to been free agency. Wouldn't have been through a trade or a draft pick. To get Ewing, they would have had to throw in the kitchen sink at him and said, "Look, come here, and we're going to win. Damn it, we're just going to win." Yeah. But the problem was that was the year when big money was coming in, so everybody wanted their cut. I mean, it's professional basketball. These guys had families. Yeah. So winning took a back seat because now once they guaranteed contracts, you don't have to win to make a living. See, it used to be back in the old days, the only teams that stayed pat were the championship winning teams because it was a superstition. You win the championship, you don't cut a player. That's bad karma. You don't do that. Whoever's on the final roster of that championship winning team, those guys are coming into training camp. Now, things may change during the next season, but those guys all earn the right to renew their contracts and come back. That's how it used to be. Then once they had guaranteed contracts, it didn't matter whether you won or lose. You could be the worst team in the league. You're still getting paid.
Yeah. Well, all right, Rex. I think I know we had another question from my Patra about. Oh, there's two questions from.
I didn't see them. I'm sorry, I missed them.
So credit to Phil Jackson the most in terms of making each understand their roles, even if it was playing second to Jordan and sticking to the role till 6 championships. And so Wilt was right when saying Bill Russell is the greatest when considering basketball as a team sport, taking out individual accolades.
Yes, but now, mind you, Russell had more MVPs than Wilt. So you don't have to take out the individual accolades. Yeah. That's what so many fans forget. They think they think Russell was just all defense and he just was on these super teams and won every year. Okay, and they just dominated. They didn't dominate, guys. He went to 10 playoff game 7s. Does that sound like a dominant team that gets taken to game 7 10 times in a decade? Does that sound like a dominant team? Well, they were clutch. They won all 10 times.
Rex, there was something I heard on the news the other day, which I found hilarious. They said that Jokic, or I don't want to call it the news. I'm sure it was YouTube or something, but somebody said that if Jokic doesn't win the MVP this season, it would be the greatest statistical season of somebody not winning an MVP. And I'm like, it'd be great, but what about Wilt with the 50 and 28? You know what I mean?
50 and 25.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 50 and 25.
Well, here's why they say that. Wilt actually probably averaged a triple-double that year with blocks, but it wasn't an official stat.
Yeah.
But then remember that same season, Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double.
Yeah.
But I can understand them saying it. It doesn't mean it's 100% true. They only need to present what is arguably true because remember, these things go out worldwide now, not just U.S. He's a foreign player. He's a European player. Put out a statement like that to European basketball, and you're motivating a whole nother discussion there.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely up there with 62. If you want to count 62 as not just Wilt, but Wilt and Oscar.
And Elgin. Elgin was pretty good.
Yeah, but Elgin, you have a legitimate knock on Elgin in that he only played home games. So there were you always play better at home, do you not?
No, typically, yeah.
Yeah, he only played home games because he was in the Army. Mm-hmm. So he could only play in the home games that year.
Yeah.
So there's a legitimate knock against him. Well, he never had to play on the opponent's home courts. So yeah, that's going to knock your stats down. So there is a legitimate, if you're arguing stats. It all depends. It's too early to tell. Let's see if Jokic does not win the MVP, and if his team wins the championship, then yes, it would be a true fact. To have the guy that wins the championship and has this amazing season, but yet they still don't give him the MVP. Then it would be a travesty. Because it's all supposed to be about winning, right?
At the end of the day, that's what everyone tries to sell as the foundation of the game, or at least in the NBA, is who's going to win the championship.
Yeah.
But all right, Rex, I'm going to get going, but
yeah, I need to get going too.
It was fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Learn the game. Do you have any second last words for the people?
Practice your free throws.
Yeah. Thank you, Ipatra, for listening to us. Please call in next time if you're interested. Love to hear you and your perspectives on things. I don't know if you're here for that whole soliloquy, if you want to call it that, but we want to hear you guys call in. Diatribe, yeah, rant, whatever. Just come. We'd like to hear you guys call in. So please call in. Don't be afraid to. We don't bite. So for everyone, learn the game.